So these are just straight up examples of how to measure angles from an analog clock. So I'm going to go through these 3 examples. And by the way, I have free guided notes that you can check out where I have a clock that you can draw on to make it a little bit easier. So just FYI, this is an examples video. So the way that this works is I'm literally just going to go straight through these, assuming that you kind of know the basics of this, but you just wanted to see a few more examples or get some extra practice. I have a lesson video where I give way more detail on how this process works and how an analog clock works. So if you don't even know how an analog clock works, I explain that in my lesson video. So check out the description if you would like to watch all of that detail and get that refresher. Okay, so without further ado, what I'm going to do is, like I said, just go straight through these examples. Now, I highly recommend that you pause the video and you actually try each of these on your own. If you just sit here and just watch me do them and you don't practice it on your own, you're not going to get as much out of this video. Okay, so starting with 6:25. So the first thing that we talked about in the other video is that you want to mark the time. So for the minute hand, the minute hand's going to be on the 5, that's the 25 mark. And then I just like to show how to approximate getting to where the 6 is. So the hour hand started here at 6, but we are now 25 minutes into the hour. So the hour hand should be somewhere pretty close to the middle between the 7 and the 6. So I'm actually going to move the hour hand out here. So let me get rid of that little green mark. So I just use that green mark to kind of help center me to swing that hour hand out. It's like a gauge. Okay, so here is the angle that I actually want to measure, okay? So I know that from the 6 to the 5, this is what we talked about in the other video, this is 30 degrees. So every time you go like fully through a number, that's 30 degrees. So I've already got 30 degrees accounted for. The tricky part now is, what is it from this green line to this white line? What is that angle measure? So this is what we have to think about. I know from the 6 to the 7, this whole part here is 30 degrees. So this hour hand is kind of dividing up this like 30-degree wedge, if you will, and we have to figure out what is kind of the measurement here. So what we think about is, how far did the hour hand move? Or in other words, we are 25 minutes into this 60-minute hour. So the hour hand has moved 25/60ths of the way through its position. And so that comes out to 5/12. And so I am actually now 5/12 within this 30-degree angle, okay? So now I need to figure out what portion of this 30 degrees have I gone through. I've gone through this 30 degrees. All right, now, if I multiply those together, I get 12.5 degrees. So now what you have to think about is what actually matters. Which part of this did I need to get to my angle measurement? Because I took this 30-degree angle and I could really divide this into 2 parts. So I've colored them out. So I've got a pink part and a blue part. So for this particular problem, which is the part that's actually relevant? And also, what's the angle measure for each part of these? What is the measurement of each? Well, this pink part, this is the 12.5 degrees that we just found. So the hand started here and it moved over a little bit, and so that was 12.5 degrees. Now, just out of curiosity, the blue part I would find by doing 30 degrees minus that 12.5 degrees, and I would get 17.5 degrees. So which of these is actually relevant for this problem? Do I need the 17.5 or the 12.5? Because it can change from problem to problem, so this is why you want the picture, so you can kind of take a moment to reason this out. This is the part that we want, right? So what we really want is that 12.5 degrees. So you have to analyze that each time you do these problems. Okay, so the answer then is I take the sum of these 2 parts. So that's going to be the 30 and then the 12.5 to get 42.5 degrees. Now, what if you're not allowed to have decimals? What if you have to convert this to minutes? Well, I've also explained in another video that there are 60 minutes, so 60 minutes in 1 degree. So I've explained all of these conversions in another video. I'll drop a link to that in the description. So I just have to convert this. So this comes out to 30 minutes. Now, remember, these minutes that I'm talking about, they are not clock minutes. So it gets really confusing sometimes when you're working with this. Clock minutes and degree minutes are 2 different things. So we are now talking about degree minutes. And so then the final answer in this case would be 42 degrees in 30 minutes. Okay, 3:15. So once again, you want to draw your picture. So the minute hand is going to be here on the 3. And then if you just think about, okay, so we're at 3:15. So I started here. So I always draw that green marker just to see where we start. So I'm 15 minutes into the hour. So I need to swing it down just a little bit this way. You see what I'm saying? So if I swing this down just a little, there's my hour hand. So let me get rid of the green marker now. So this is what we need to measure. So we just need to find this tiny little angle. And so in this case, there's no like 30-degree measurements that we can sum up, right? I just need to find this. So I just have to think about then how far into the hour am I? So that hour hand has moved 15 out of the 60 positions or minutes or whatever that we're into the hour. So this is a quarter of the hour. So now if I think about this, so this part here, this is 30 degrees and I'm a quarter through that 30 degrees. So I multiply those together to get 7.5 degrees. And this is actually it. This ended up being kind of an easy problem. The only thing that you might want to do is if you don't need degrees and you have to convert to minutes once again, this is 7 degrees and 30 minutes. And again, minutes are a portion of an angle. They're also on a clock and they're like two different things. So that's it for this one. There's nothing else that you have to do. So again, that picture is super, super helpful in helping you figure out what you need to do. All right, so last but not least, 238. This one's kind of a tricky one, honestly. Okay, so first of all, let's figure out where does that minute hand go. And by the way, if you haven't done these, I highly recommend that you pause here. Give this one a try. It is a little bit harder, but it's totally worth your time, and you'll get more out of this video if you actually try it. Okay, so 238. Here's where the minute hand would be. And then once again, you know how I like to do this. So I start at 2:38, so 2 o'clock. This is where it's the 2 o'clock hand started, and then it's kind of moved a little bit from there. So I'll get rid of the green marker. Okay, so this one's kind of tricky, so you got to take your time. All right, so first things first, I just think about like how many of those 30-degree measurements do I have? So I like swinging from here to here. I know that all of these pieces here, as we've talked about in another video, these are all 30 degrees. So I've got those accounted for. But what's tricky now in this part is now I have the minute hand is someplace kind of funky and the hour hand is someplace kind of funky. So I have to figure out these two odd wedges. Now, something I didn't talk about in the lesson video is how many degrees does the minute hand move each minute? So I talked about how an analog clock works. So there's 5 minutes, right, going from the 7 to the 8. So like this is going to go through 5 different spots. So what we have to think about is there's 5 minutes in each block. So in 1 minute, one of those 5 minutes, I have gone through how much of the 30 degrees? So I've gone through 1/5 of the 30 degrees in that 5-minute block. Okay, so if I do this, each minute is going to be 6 degrees. So each minute, the minute hand moves 6 degrees. Makes sense? If it doesn't, leave me a comment. Okay, so think about this. At 2:38, the minute hand has moved 3 marks past the 7. So we are really like 3 marks in. So this has moved that 6 degrees 3 times. So I can take 3 times 6 degrees. So this has moved from here to here. This has moved 18 degrees. Okay, so I'll just note that 18 degrees, noted that here. Okay, so now we got to work on the hour hand. The hour hand is a little trickier. How far did the hour hand move? It is now 38 minutes out of the 60 into the hour. That comes out to 19 out of 30. So if I multiply that by the 30 degrees, this comes out to 19 degrees. Okay, so now this is where you got to use your noggin, right? To think about where does this 19 degrees fit into this little wedge? Because what I like to do is I like to take from the 2 to the 3 and I let the hour hand kind of divide the wedge up, right? And so you have to figure out where does that 19 degrees fit in. The 19 degrees is describing from this point to this point. This has moved 19 degrees, which means that the other part of this is 30 minus 19 degrees. This is 11 degrees. And once again, you have to think about which one of these do you actually need. This totally is just dependent on what time it is. It's just the context of the problem. So when looking at this, remember, my hour hand is here, right? So I'm really starting from this point here all the way out here. So what do I need? Do I need the 19 degrees or the 11 degrees? I need the 11 degrees in this case. So it's really just, you've got to just think. All right, so the answer then, I take all those 30 degrees we just found, the 18 degrees that we found from here, and then the 11 degrees to get 149 degrees. And that would be it for this one. So you just got to kind of take your time and work through it. And so if you found this video helpful, consider leaving me a like or a comment if you have any questions. Share this with a friend if you know somebody working on something similar. If at any point you direct someone to my channel that's doing me a solid. And otherwise, consider subscribing to the channel. I am trying to grow it. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.